All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to welcome you to our first meeting at the Capitol during the session. We are pleased to, we got to see and hear Member Hall open the Senate floor today with prayer, and we appreciated the opportunity to he's not even noticing. We're acknowledging you. It's also Charter Day on the Hill. If you want to spend time at the Rotunda, we got to tour some different schools and meet different directors there and talk to students. That was exciting. So we will go ahead with our roll call. So Member Bogus. Member Bollinger? Here. Member Booth? Here. Member Brinton? Member Davis? Member Earl? Here. Member Green?
Here.
Member Hall?
If an illegal migrant was being released, so ICE can pick them
Member
up
Kelly?
before going.
Here.
Member Carey?
All White House has asked from sanctuaries.
Member Lear?
Fry, who said.
Member Green? Can you mute?
It's not me. I think that was Cole.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Thank you. Member Longacre?
Thank you.
Member Lear? Okay, I kind of got. Thank you. Member Rill? And I am here. All right. We'll go right to our first item, which is budget priorities. And I think we have Member Bogus. Oh, okay. Okay, I just told you we're first on the agenda.
We'll just jump into it. Hey, do board members need context for this agenda item?
Do we need context? A smidgen. We need a smidgen of context. Thank you. Deputy Jones.
Deputy Superintendent of Operations Scott Jones. For the budget priorities, they still remain as you had ratified them. So if we could pull those up, I think they're in the backups. While that's being pulled up, we're about halfway. So today was the fourth of the 8 meetings for PEA. And what we do is an integral part of the process of responding to the LFA recommendations or the LFA presentations on line items is we ensure that your budget priorities that are part of that particular line item on the agenda for that PEA meeting is brought forward or reminded. And you've all received an email from Chair Hymas regarding some feedback or input that we have received from legislators or the chairs from PEA regarding the current numbers of priorities. You have 8 because we had removed the the Adobe request. And so are we pulling that up or who's driving? With the priorities? Okay.
God, that was actually my computer. That was
Oh,
on
I
the screen
see.
for half
Okay,
a
I'm
second.
sorry. I thought it was somebody. Okay. Yeah. Here. I just thought, we should pull the current status of the priorities and then for your review and consideration, given your email to the board, sir. So, Chair, or through Madam Chair. So to the Chair, Madam Chair. Thanks. Yes. Yeah. So here for your review is the priorities all the way through. It should be 1 through 8, right? Did I get the number right? Yeah, right. Because we removed the Adobe. And then there is the USDB request as well, 1.8 million ongoing that should be considered or get additional consideration if you still want to continue to move that forward because it's on Monday at PEA that we'll be doing USDB. So we would make that 1.8 million part of the presentation to the PEA committee on Monday, holistic of all of the other materials and presentations we're giving regarding USDB. For example, they want us to update them on all the changes that have been made since the operations came to us on July 1st, et cetera. And I think we're planning on doing that with Vice Chair Wood. But this would be an integral part of that briefing or update to PEA on Monday. We're scheduled to do that for the USDB. So pending any questions or concerns with where the board is at currently with their with your priorities and then subject to your email, sir, through the chair, Madam Chair, then that concludes my update or input.
Great. Well, I'm not seeing any additional lights, so we'll move to Member Bogus.
Is your light?
The far one. The one. Get an echo.
Nothing?
It says 2.
Well, now I'm on.
Can you hear me now? Hear me?
I can hear that.
Oh, okay, perfect. Then I would just move that we remove our suggestion that BTS have cut funding in our proposed budget changes to the legislature.
Right. So you have a motion to,
Sorry.
this is in the recommendations part. So right now we're talking about our budget priorities.
Mm-hmm.
So you're removing our
No.
recommendation,
Not the blue sheet, the green and yellow sheet.
right? So, but we're talking about priorities right now, the asks. And so if it's your,
So my understanding is that's all in agenda item 1.
The 5%.
because of its request.
As far as I know, it's not part of that, but that's up
Okay.
to you, Chair.
I think we want to deal specifically with priorities right now, because that's what the legislature's asking of us is, are we changing our priorities? So if you want to move that to following any motions on priorities, then we'll work with any
Okay.
further discussions on recommendations.
All right.
Okay? Do we have any?
Yeah,
Chair
if I
Hannes.
could, Chair, and to Member Bogus's question here, or comment, we can find a time if there's still appetite to readdress the 5% reduction, which I think is what you want to do. It's just not on this agenda for today, but we can, if it's proposed through the process, then we can definitely look at that as a leadership team. Does that make sense?
I know, I think we need to move on to our priorities, and we can talk about recommendations following that.
Well, let me continue on then, Chair, if I could. I've got a motion that I apologize to the public. I did not get this out in time to get into backup, but I'm going to set my motion. If I get a second, then I'll speak to it. And my motion is that the board update its funding request priorities to read as follows. Number 1, paraprofessional K-3 grant at the sum of $20 million one time. 2 is a K-8 literacy/numeracy at 9.6 million ongoing and 34 million one time. And then number 3, USBE FTEs at the tune of $3.4 million ongoing. And then number 4, a master pilot program at $4.8 million one time. That's my motion. Thank you.
All right, do we have any discussion?
Let's get a second.
Okay, we have a second. Yes, go ahead and speak to that.
So what we're finding in these first, have we had 4 meetings of PEA? Seems like one fun one, but 4 seems to be more correct. So we've had 4 meetings from the PEA, and we've gotten some feedback if you've listened to those. Just recently, we had a conversation in our board meeting last week on just the top priority, which was 2% increase in WPU. And both Chair McPherson and Chair White made comment on those in different areas, but one was saying, you know, that would be the highest we've done. That would match the highest we've ever done in a tight year. That would be almost unheard of. I don't want to put words in his mouth. I'm just trying to summarize. And then Chair White says, where would you find that 90 million? And I don't think he's asking us to find it within the reductions of the 5%. I think he's asking, where are you going to find that 90 plus million additionally with the 5%? So that was just priority number one. WPU increase, I believe, is always our priority. I believe it's a priority of the legislator, quite frankly. But when we really narrow down on what it is we are tasked to do as a board, again, watching the PEA meetings, and I asked the question, I haven't gotten in trouble yet, not publicly anyway, or privately, but I asked the question as legislators had asked questions about different programs such as DLI, POPs, CTE for national championships or national events, and nobody asked any questions on early literacy. And I said, well, we're trying to, as a board, we're trying to find out what is crucial in our classrooms and crucial to our role as a USBE. And this kind of narrowed down what I was looking at with this paraprofessional grant, K-8 literacy and master pilot program. And then additionally, keeping the USBE FTEs in there, as not only as a board are we trying to focus on literacy and get kids to read and understand how to problem solve, but we're also trying to pull our weight at the agency side as well. So that's the intent behind these first four here. And you'll also recognize in my email, I kind of pointed out that we now are requesting with this 13 million ongoing compared to the 138 million, and then the one-time funding would stay the same. Thank you, Chair.
All right, I'm seeing,
I went
Okay.
first.
okay, Member Booth?
So just a clarifying question. So you are making this motion, these four replace all of the priorities that we have previously had and removes anything else that was on that original printed blue list, and this is what we would be moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Member Lair?
Actually,
Sarah. Member Rell.
thank you. One question for you, Chair. This feels similar to when we talked about school safety. And we were talking about prioritizing school safety on our list, but we also knew that it was a priority of the legislature. With early literacy or K-8 literacy or literacy in general, it's also a priority of the governor. And I know of the legislature as well. So it's not that we don't care about literacy, but is it worthwhile to prioritize that when we already know it's been prioritized by the other governing bodies?
Trying to speak to that?
Yeah, I'll just respond briefly. For me, yes, it was, but I do understand what you're saying. If it's already prioritized, why are we going to waste political capital? This is a 20 million. I believe that the governor is asking for 100 and something million. Scott, any 100 plus million?
I don't have the number in front of me, but it's in excess of
quite a
100.
bit
Yes.
more.
Yes.
This is one time, so I don't feel as bad putting it on there. And if this is a priority, a lot of these requests, I believe, even with the money gone, still helps the legislators see our priorities, right? No matter how much it costs, whether it's free or not, this says, no, we are prioritizing getting this in there. I don't know if that helps.
That does help. And I just want to say that I appreciate leadership and Superintendent Hart. I've been watching all of the PEA meetings, and you guys have all done an outstanding job articulating the views of the board. So thank you for that. And I guess I just sometimes think about the piece of we should pull other priorities when we know it is already a priority. Sort of like we care about school safety, but we knew it was going to be funded. If we know literacy is going to be funded. So, and I'm not sure that I have an answer or a balance on how to say we care about literacy just like you, but we also have these other priorities. So I'm kind of stuck in a pickle on that, but that's my own problem. Thank you.
One more brief response before we get to Member Carey.
Yes.
I would agree with you. After listening to these PEA meetings for the RFAs that have come forth, they are typically not core programs. That, if that helps.
Member Carey.
Thank you. Chair, just a point of information, and this came up, I believe you were in one of the rooms when we were asked, or maybe you were asked by a representative or senator, you know, when we submitted all these proposed reallocations or cuts, we were asked, did USBE reduce its budget at all as part of those reallocations or cuts? So to be better informed on how to vote for these new abbreviated list of priorities, I see USBE is still requesting an increase to its existing funding when we're asking almost everyone else in the education universe to cut. My point of information would be, is USBE taking a fiscal cut or reduction in any of in our budget at the state level, and if so, by how much? Thank you, Chair.
Deputy Jones, would you like to respond to that?
So Madam Chair, the exercise, for lack of a better term, would have been shown to reduce the 5%. The board had made motions to reallocate. So not only reduce, but reallocate towards your priorities. So the answer is that yes, you're reducing, but my understanding based on the motions that were made was there is some room for reallocation of those reductions towards your priorities. Does that help answer the question?
Can I add, can I add a little, and Superintendent Hart, you might even be better, but let me just add, when we went over and you might recognize as well, when we went over that 6% cut
Yeah.
off the top, it absolutely affects employees and
Yes,
programs within the agency.
absolutely.
So do
But,
you want?
but if I may, Madam Chair, to the question of, are we reducing, but then asking for more, but, so I would say you're reducing and you were conscientious or thinking of, in addition to reducing this, reallocate to your priorities. There was some specific discussion related to that.
Superintendent Hart, did you?
Did you want to see?
Did you?
The answer is yes. That 6% includes a 6% cut to the line item that has the administrative, much of the administration of and we saw it in PEA this morning. They showed up the line item, and there is a 6% cut for administrative funding, which line item, which is where much of our administration is housed. In addition, the 6% cuts across programs, and programs is where much of our funding, our administrative funding, are in those line items. Would that not be a fair way of saying it?
I think so, but Madam Chair, if I could further try to expand on what the superintendent just said. So the LFA is proposing $1,035,000 to, in a particular line item that would affect 9 FTEs. Not all of your recommendations on Plan 2, which is 6 to 7%, it's roughly 6.81% to those would affect FTEs, but some do. So we could show you which items would affect if if the legislature were to take your recommendations for any program or across it would depend. It could be just a reduction to a particular line item that wouldn't affect FTEs, but depending on the program and if we're paying out of that, it could affect FTEs. And we tried to differentiate that in your sheets. So
Was that clarification, Member Carey?
It was. I just wanted to make sure it was on the record that this body and the Utah State Board of Education is sharing in these reductions as we have asked across the state. So thank you.
I have a question in terms of presentation at PEA today. We saw that they're taking a 4.6 reduction in literacy a one time. So how does this, they take 4.6, but we add 9.6. Can anyone talk to me about how this affects our literacy as a whole? Like,
Well, yes, I mean, we can't, so then we're in the space of, I'm assuming you're directing that to me, Madam Chair. So responding to that, we can demonstrate if it's an if this, then this. If the legislature takes the LFA recommendations of the 4.6%, we can show which the potential impact of taking 4.6%. If they were to take both the LFA recommendation and then your recommendations too, we can show what the second and third level effects are estimated to be from that. And I think we would have to differentiate like that, right? We'd have to say, well, if this, then this. If the legislature takes the LFA recommendation, it would create these second and third level effects. If they don't take theirs, but they take yours and they honor your intent to have it only done 1 year, or for us, our state fiscal year 27, then we could show the second and third level effects of that potentially. There's also the potential that they could do both because you're making a proposal, the LFA is making a proposal, so it could end up being a higher percentage to that program, and then we could see too. But there would be some decisions that would have to be made for sure.
okay, but
So
we can't.
Could
speak to
affect contracts.
exactly what those impacts
Not
would
exactly,
be
because the
with
decisions would
two
have to be, do you want to reduce existing contracts? Do you want to riff and positions? Do
Right.
you want to, so we're only in the space of, it could be this second and third level effects, but that would be subject to whether or not they specify that by reducing 4%, this is what they want to happen, like they're doing with the 1,035,000. They're saying, well, this would result in 9 FTEs, estimating 9 FTEs. They haven't gone that far in the early literacy space. So then that implies that it would be left up to the board to decide, well, if this portion or amount get, reduced by 4.6%, you would have to decide, well, let's reduce the contract or amend the contract, or let's eliminate these two positions, which likely would flow up from the superintendent to you. So,
All right,
so,
thank you.
yeah,
Member Booth.
okay.
I would like to amend the motion, and I would move that we reinsert BTS as number 2 in the list of 4, making 5 priorities. And if I get a second, I'll be happy to speak to that.
I second.
We have a second. Go ahead and speak to it.
I'm feeling a need to speak for the children and their parents. We have a number of challenges that make public education a challenging realm at the moment. And I believe we need as much humanity, and the 3,600 emails that I received recently seem to chime in. Many years ago, the arts were cut out most elementary schools in the state of Utah when we began to emphasize literacy and numeracy. We needed to emphasize literacy and numeracy, and it took a specific amount of time, and just the minutes in the day didn't justify keeping full-time arts educators in the elementary schools. So the days when you and I were growing up, when we would do Hansel and Gretel as the opera, or we would go down the hall and sing, every class, every grade level would go down and do the Silver Burdette song series, and you'd sing, those things went away. And we became better in literacy and numeracy, which we needed to. But in many districts, they just eliminated the arts unless a certain teacher happened to be really good at something, and then they would jump in because it's fun and it transforms the classroom. When BTS came to the rescue, they began to provide opportunities for large numbers of our children to have what they had lost. I just can't be on the board when that program, that rescue program that has succeeded so magnificently, goes under without speaking enthusiastically, positively, with as much passion and heart as I can possibly muster. Nobody else is going to talk the talk and try to keep this alive in the lives of our students. Even a Provo district that I represent that maintained a music program, a very intensive music program, even though other districts only relied on BTS. They're now, with the budget cuts, announcing that they're having to eliminate some of their ongoing music programs that have been such a unbelievable kingpin in the overall education of their elementary students in the Provo City District. I understand that cuts have to be made, but this is not one of the places where our kids can handle another cut to their humanity and to their good feelings of mental wellness and balance in their lives. It's small potatoes compared to a lot of the issues where we have to cut, and it's doing so much good. So I've spoken my piece, and I love BTS, and I love BTS because of what it is doing for our children.
Thank you,
And
Member.
I don't want my grandchildren to miss out on these opportunities that they're currently enjoying. In one of my grandchildren's schools, they have it. In another one, they don't. If both of them don't have it, oh my gosh, that is
Thank
too
you.
sad. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, Member Booth. Member Lair, is this to his amendment? Okay, do we have anyone?
Member Green does.
Okay, Member Bogus to the amendment?
Can you hear me? Do we need? How about that one?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Member Green?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that you can hear me? Okay. I'll just slide a little to the left then, that's fine. So I think, I think this is super important. What a lot of people don't realize about BTS funding is that it goes, it doesn't go as far every year. So when you have funding, teachers get raises, it's a thing. The cost of supplies plays into that. Just because you have a certain amount of money does not mean you can serve the same amount of students the next year with the same amount of money. A fixed amount of money causes services to decrease. It doesn't cause them to maintain. And the data on this program is so profound. Not only does it work, it increases math scores, science scores, literacy scores. And it is one of the #1 programs to produce integrated learning across all subject areas. And if you've never seen BTS do that, you need to look at the people who did the American history show through BTS to study the 5th grade social studies standards. The kids who can sing the alphabet backwards because somebody sat there and taught them one day. And the data that supports this program and its impact on student learning is astronomical. And it's a program that's needed. I think it's a program that we often undersell because it sits back in the corners and recesses because students are making sounds and noise and so much learning is happening. And I just do think that we need to put it back on this list. And with that clear understanding that a fixed amount of money moving into next year is actually a decrease in services to our students. And so I support this motion. I think it's something we should be fighting for. If you've never watched an arts educator in action, you are seriously missing out. And if you've never seen an integrated arts specialist do their business, I think it's a priority that you get in the classroom. I know 2 or 3 that have won many awards. It's a sight to behold to watch great integration specialists at work. So I support this motion and I would ask the board to support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Bogus. Member Carey, and you can speak to this.
Yeah, I'd just like to speak in support of the motion. I can't say it as eloquently as a board member Booth, but again, my concern is that instead of looking at the efficacy of each program, we're reducing it just to how much money can we save. And I don't think that is the proper analysis. I don't think it's the proper role of this board. And because of that, because of the good that this program does, I support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Carey. Member Earl.
Earl. Yeah, Scott, our Deputy Superintendent Jones, I'm wondering, I have just 2 questions on the funding. I wanted to make sure, because it seemed like it wasn't just there wasn't enough funding to go around last year. Is that accurate for everybody that was requesting it? Is that accurate,
There-
Scott?
Yes, it's accurate. Through the Madam Chair, there's a wait list. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wanted to clarify that. And then
That's
the
true.
other question has to do, I'm trying to remember how these are funded. There's a certain amount they're funded, and then the district provides the rest. Is that accurate? Remind me.
Don't believe there's a match, if that's what you're talking, or, let's see, is there a match? Yeah, yes, there is a match on the BTS.
So there's so
we
much
provide it,
given for,
and they match it.
yes, and then the rest of it's matched from the district or LEA or whoever's doing the program. Is that accurate? Because
Correct, though we did establish it's a base salary amount.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it's 72,000, and then it went from there. So some get more, some get less, but yes. Yeah, but there's a match.
Okay, okay, so and I'm just trying to make sure I understand, so if the educator's salary goes up, does that match? I mean, how does that work? Maybe
You know,
that's more complex.
So
We need to-
I think the details of that, so while I track the money, the details of that at the local level would probably be best if you had called a witness for.
A
the Beverly
witness?
Taylor, or
Can-
representative for the BTS program
And maybe
itself.
that's not
So-
necessary. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure I was understanding
I think
the
you
movement
are,
of funding
yes.
going up and down and how that impacts okay,
Yeah, I
thank
think you
you.
got a good,
Okay.
but by LEA and all that, I mean, that would take.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Member Ballinger.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to make a motion to postpone this discussion. And with a second, I'd like to speak to that. I know that we have a good representative, Senator Wilson, here to present. And so if we can all just be willing to postpone, we can come back to the discussion. I appreciate it.
We do have a time certain, so if there's no objection to moving on to our time certain, and then we'll come back. Okay. Yeah, we're just going to our time certain. So we'll welcome Senator Wilson. Thank you for coming.
Fine. No, I hope I don't need that. We don't have hours in the day to go through the bill. So anyway, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I've got a caucus luncheon that I'm missing, and I do need to get back for. So I really appreciate the opportunity. It's my first time in front of the Utah State Board of Education. It's good to see all of you, and especially my representative, board member Jenny Earl. It's good to see you. Been happy to work with her on many issues that have to do with northern Utah. Really quick, and I know probably most of you are aware of the public school construction audit that was done by our team of auditors here at the legislature. We have some of the best auditors in the country, and that's one reason why I think, I know we have the best run state as far as U.S. News and World Reports for 3 straight years. The reason why we have the #1 economy, there's a lot of reasons, because we have a great audit team that identifies issues. And most organizations, I think even yourselves, welcome, let's try and improve. Let's try and be better. What can we do? Or some areas that we need improvement? And they came out with an audit, and I was approached. I actually asked for the audit about some concerns I had up in Cache County that I think was more of, one problem with one district rather than a statewide. But still, they came up, and I can read the summary the bottom line is they think school construction can benefit from improved oversight. Cost reporting for K through 12 construction is insufficient for informed decision-making at the LEA and state levels. An independent review of school building compliance identified consistent problems. We even had some safety issues with some of the schools that had been constructed. So this is a serious issue in my opinion. And I'll finish with that. As you're well aware, the state of Utah is liable and carries a liability for all K through 12 buildings as long as the state buildings. So I feel as a representative of taxpayers in the state of Utah that there's obviously some areas of great improvement. The oversight is with the state school board, state school board. So I am asking you, and I'm happy to talk about it, but I'm here to ask you to help me help you. I mean, because I don't know if it's possible for the state school board to have a whole division of building inspectors and people to try and oversight to collect the information that I think that was identified in the audit. So I'm here to help you. My idea was to have some of those responsibilities put on the Department of Facilities and Construction Management, DCFS, DFCM. And I've got a current bill that made it through committee. There's definitely, we're going to get some pushback from, the contractors, the architects, and other people, the school board, state districts. In my opinion, I think since 2019, it was supposed to be the state school board that was supposed to be oversight and seeing that these buildings are constructed safely, and also to try and collect information that we can share with other districts to try and decrease costs and improve transparency among districts that will help. And there has been some collaboration from district to district, but it's ultimately the state school board's responsibility to try and collect some of this information. So I'm here to help you. I've got the school construction bill that have made it through committee. We are getting information. We're collecting data from different organizations. We're still waiting for some more. So, but I would love to have help from the state school board. I'm trying to help you with the how to help that oversight piece that is ultimately the state school board's responsibility. I started looking at originally back in when this was presented to the education department or education committee, and I was there, and you heard a lot of comments, a lot of concerns. But when you talk about trying to set up, a department within the state, school board or the state school, it just doesn't pencil. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars up front and added a number of people. And honestly, don't take this wrong, but I don't expect you guys to be construction experts. Education experts trying to educate. I've got 23 grandkids, so I care about kids and education. It's very, very important for our future. There's no better investment we can make in the future of the state of Utah than education. But I don't want to run a bill and say, hey, school board, you've got to do this, and here's another unfunded mandate. So I'm asking you, now that's what the bill is about. I'm really honestly trying to help you. Nothing would have made me happier for them to come back and say, you know what, they're doing a great job. There's no need. We don't have to worry about it. And there's even an audit that's going to be done on the DFCM. And they're welcoming the audit. It's not an overhaul. It's a few tweaks on maybe a bidding process here and that. I've talked to the same auditors that did the school construction audit is going to be doing the DFCM audit. And it's going to be I think that's very, very compelling, because then I think those auditors will be able to help us at what we can do to combine, help each other out with DFCM and the Board of Education. So I'm going to stop right there, and I think I've run out of words, so.
Thank you. I do have, are you open to questions?
Oh, absolutely. If I can answer them, that's great. And the bill, like I said, it's a very complicated bill, so I wasn't planning on trying to present.
Perfect. Member Bollinger.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Senator Wilson, for being here. We really do appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and present this to us and giving us an opportunity to discuss this. And I do safety is a top priority, I think, for our state school board, and building safety falls among that. And so I do appreciate you being willing to tackle this concern and this issue, and in the name of decreasing costs and improving transparency. I think that's something that we all want. I do just have a question. I've been approached about this bill by a local LEA in my area. The question is, there are some LEAs that do have staff in the LEA that they feel like they've been able to address their building concerns. My question is, I know there's some carve out for charter schools. Is there any appetite or willingness to do some sort of a carve out for those LEAs that are following these? And the concern is the 1.25% fee. They feel like it's more financially responsible to fund their staffing than to pay that to DFCM.
Yeah, and everything, I think everything's, most everything's on the table. And that fee was, we didn't write that very well. It was supposed to be, that's the top fee. It's a scalable fee. And I have met with the Granite superintendent. We met here a couple days ago, and I believe he's going to get me some language. I asked him to kind of spearhead the superintendents and the state school board to get me feedback. I'm meeting with the rural school superintendents today at 4 to try and get some feedback from them. We've got some feedback from architects. And I understand, that a lot of, like, I think there's like 5 districts that have, and I don't, I'm not trying to have anybody lose their job. I'm actually just trying to have the DFCM help with the oversight. But still, the school boards, in my opinion, in my bill, I want them to be able to have the ultimate decisions. But when I look in this book, and it says LEA building officials have inappropriately waived building code requirements, that's a problem. And so, but yes, I'm waiting for feedback. Like I said, the Granite superintendent, I hope he's going to be able to filter and get me some information back. But I agree totally. There's got to be scalable. There's got to be something based on your ability. And that's why I always thought, when I had this bill, I thought the rural school districts would probably benefit most. I got to be careful what I say because I'm a small business owner, but I have a problem that I saw up in Cache County, where if you have building contractors running the project, rather than somebody maybe to help, I think you've got issues. Not that they're all bad, don't get me wrong, but I think an oversight in those situations is much needed. But I understand, and I've heard the same concerns, and I agree that there's definitely some districts that have a lot more resources to help them with this process than others. But the collecting data part is just really, really important, I think, so we can share, and that's what we need. And everybody kind of right now has different data of how their expenses are based on the schools. And so we need to have a uniform way of looking at expenses so that we can help. And I think many of you are aware, and I should be careful, but there's a bill in the House right now after this audit, who basically wants to try and have, like 4 different buildings possible, and you have to choose from one of those. And I'm not for that. I still believe districts, like a district in Cache Valley, is going to have a different need than a district in St. George, and vice versa. So I'm not trying to take away local control at all. I'm trying to add some consulting resources to make sure that safety, make sure costs, and we know what's going on right now. We all get inundated with property tax increases, and when they try and go and bond. And I'm not so sure that when those school boards go to bond, knowing if the taxpayers knowing that somebody's oversight, watching to make sure they're doing everything they can, not to cut corners, but to cut costs on materials. And there's some materials that are a lot more expensive than others. DFCM does it every day with state buildings. So yes, we'll definitely take a consideration. Hopefully they'll get to me by tomorrow morning. And then again, a great question, and one that I agree with, and I've heard the same thing. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Earl.
2 comments. One, it sounds like there's a lot of movement in this area and a lot of people carrying on discussions and trying to get to some kind of a good place. Is that accurate?
So accurate.
Okay.
And nobody wants to get in a good place but me, because I mean,
Right.
I'm asked to do this, and so, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, and people are saying, we didn't bring this in, and on and on, but I think many people understand the process. Sometimes you don't get any input until the bill's actually,
Yes.
and that's why I wanted to keep it moving in the committee. Obviously, I knew it wasn't ready, but until those are moving, some people don't weigh in, and we don't get to a good place. And I'm hoping for a good place, but let's be honest, there are some people that don't want oversight. They don't want anybody, and especially when they're used to not having anybody part of that process, I may have to drag some people along. That's why your support is so important for me, to know that I've got your support, that I am trying to help the state school board with an oversight and safety concerns for not only you, but the state of Utah, who is liable for those buildings.
And just one question. So if nothing happens, this doesn't pass, that responsibility still falls on us, even though we don't have the staffing, the personnel, am I accurately reflecting
Yes,
that? So
you're
we
right.
need to do something here. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's the board's, in reading the audit, it's ultimately, I think it was from 2019, I believe, the oversight of the construction of buildings. And you're supposed to approve all the buildings to make sure that they're up to, to our standards for safety, is my understanding. So yeah, it's.
Okay,
but
thank you.
Thank you.
Great. I'm not seeing any lights. I do have one quick question for you. I was asked, are you to this? Okay, sorry. I didn't see anywhere, and there's a bill moving forward with the USDB, the Utah Schools for the Deaf and Blind, and there's different varying areas in code where sometimes we're supposed to work with DFCM. We're not in terms of
Okay.
buildings with USDB. And some have said, well, Wilson's working on a construction bill. He can put something in there. I'm not seeing anything related to USDB and the desire to work with them and us. I don't know if it's a need, but will you keep that on your forefront?
I
just to
will,
see
because
if
I was
something
chair of
needs-
IGG, which we did I was over the state buildings, and I knew that was DFCM, and so, but I have not heard of that.
Okay.
And I don't have that in my bill, but we're going to meet tomorrow, and Porter, my intern's done a great job. He'll make some notes there, and we'll
Yeah,
bring
just
that
to
up
see if
tomorrow
it's a
morning.
need,
Yeah.
where it needs to be. We just want to make sure that the pathway is clear for future board members if building needs that we have the right path.
Yeah.
And there's not differing areas in code.
Yeah. Thank you, Vice Chair Wood. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have one more comment with the member Lear.
Thank you. I talked to a couple of LEA and LEA representatives and had a couple of questions, if that's okay. I'll try to make them quick. I really appreciate your willingness to come and talk about this.
Well, I didn't sleep last night, but I'll make up for it
Oh,
tonight.
I
So
doubt we're
everything
that
else-
daunting, but,
No, good.
but flattered. I understand there's a $9.4 million fiscal note, and let me add the other, and that DFCM, because the first question I had when I read this was, is DFCM believe that they have the capacity to do this? I know it's a big organization, a big government entity, but that's a huge system too.
Mhm.
And I heard it seems like there's conflicting information, because apparently I heard DFCM said, yes, we have the capacity, but oh wait, we need $9.4 million to do it. So I'm wondering about that fiscal note and would like to maybe compare how much money is now invested at the State Board of Education to do this same program and what that differential is.
Well, first of all, I approached the FCM. I mean, they didn't come to me. I went to them, and they, and having discussions, and a lot of these discussions started with Jim Russell, the former DFCM director, and so I've been using him as a consultant, even though he works at University of Utah now. But yes, they do have the capacity, but they obviously are going to need fees to take some of their expenses, and so. I did see the fiscal note. I haven't read it yet, to be honest with you. It's 9, and I was a little surprised at that, because what we're just trying to cover the fees of the FCM. They do feel like right now they're currently managing 3,000 state buildings. K through 12 is about 1,000 buildings. But they do think they have the capacity. But they just want to make sure that they're compensated for their resources going towards K through 12 in state. But it's a great question. Something I need to look into the fiscal note a little bit more because I don't think this is not going to be a revenue center for them. It's just trying to cover their expenses.
And yet the other part of my question, how much is now being devoted to the same process at the USBE? I'm sure it's not zero is what I'm seeing.
I don't know if you're charging,
The new
yeah,
fee.
I don't know what the current is. And I think the thing that's different is our fee is scalable based on what your needs are going to be. So I don't know how you can do a fiscal note because we don't know what projects, and that's what I'm trying to put together is, obviously there's 5 districts that have resources. They're going to be a lot lower fee than if somebody doesn't have. It depends on, we want oversight. Now, where is that threading that needle? Where's the oversight needed for the bigger districts compared to the smaller districts? And that fee schedule, something we're still talking about.
I hope so. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
hope we at some point see the comparison between what the USBE currently receives to do the same work as now DSCM.
I would ask you guys to provide that information. That would have to
Sure,
come
we
from you
could pretty
guys. Yeah,
readily.
yeah.
And I have one second question, and that is, I am also, and I heard concerns about the 1.25% that would be taken, I understand, from every district, whether, and I don't know if that's true or not, whether or not they have a project. If it's only
Oh,
if they,
no.
if it's only if they have a project, that might be a slightly different.
Yeah, no, that's, like I said, there was a lot of misinformation. Boy, I'm getting some crazy stuff out there, but obviously it's just going to be based on the project. And and we probably could have written it better, but it's between, the 1.25 is the highest, depending on what the resource is. But no, we're not going to charge every district, no matter whether you have a building or not. No, that's not our, see here again, and like I said, this is supposed to be resources to help make sure that they're following the building codes, make sure that they're building safe schools, and they're trying to reduce. DFCM has a lot of expertise on material buildings. I mean, they manage 3,000 buildings, right? Build a lot of buildings. I'm just looking for them to be that oversight piece. And honestly, if this board decides that, hey, we want to tackle this and we want to do it in the state school board, I'm going to be all for it, and we'll probably pass some legislation, make sure we're collecting data and stuff. But I just didn't think you guys wanted to tackle school construction.
I think for half of 9.4 million, we might be willing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like I said, those are based on fees. You'll have to come. I don't think right now you're getting paid anything.
No.
So I mean, and that's another piece that I think the school districts, should be paying you guys to collect the information stuff. So. I mean, I don't want an unfunded mandate for anybody right now. So,
And just one more quick question, and that is, I also heard concerns about smaller contractors that maybe would, who are now participating with LEAs, especially locally, and how much that's going to affect small businesses if this is taken over by a much bigger entity.
let me tell you, I received a phone call from a gentleman that works for a construction company who didn't even know I was running this bill. And he called me and he said, I am really concerned because there's a lot of good old boys club in K through 12 building. This was his words, not mine. He used up the F word, fraud, in his conversation. Excuse me. I didn't want to tell you. Yeah, I got everybody's attention there. Sorry about that. So, he brought that up. He brought up a lot of concerns, and he works for a construction company. And one thing he was concerned about is they were denied bidding. And so the last thing I want to do, board member Lear, is to limit the number of bids because we want to make sure that they're certified, that they're a construction company that can do the job.
Right.
But I don't want to limit, especially if you're down in Blanding or somewhere down where they may be limited on, I don't want to have to say, well, these are only 3 companies that you can bid from. They got to all come from Salt Lake. That's the last thing I want to do. Being from Logan, obviously, I want to make sure that local contractors and the contractors that came to me originally about the problem in Cache County were 4 or 5 contract companies that were not allowed to bid, or the bidding process, in their opinion, was rigged. believe me, that's the last thing I want to do is eliminate competition when we're trying to reduce prices of schools.
And you think that will be better under DFCM? Is that what you're thinking? That kind of that spreading, making sure they're.
Yeah, the bidding
multiple-
process, and there was some language in there, they have to be certified with DFCM, and we need to look on that, because to see that, because like I said, I don't want to eliminate, if they're a good reputable construction company, of course, that's a gray area with some, I mean, that's a tough needle to thread, but being a small business owner, I just want to make sure that we're having more opportunities to bid than less. That is key. Yeah, and like I said, I've had a lot of feedback, well, from contractors who aren't one of the big contracts that are building on schools. Obviously, I assume they don't want anything to change. But I think there needs to be some change, and I completely agree with you.
Thank you very
Thank-
much for your responses.
You bet.
Thank you. So we do have another time certain,
Oh,
board members.
great.
just
Oh,
to-
thank you so much. You guys tell me to
just
be
to-
quiet. So,
Sorry.
thank you.
So I do have a comment from member Carey and then a member
Oh, okay.
Superintendent Hart, but just
Keep it short.
keep it short.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Wilson. I represent the Ogden Weber School District, which despite what Board Member Earl says, is the top district in the state. So, but I did want to say thank you for this bill. I think that much of it is long overdue. Having served on the School Safety Task Force, we saw several issues in terms of construction and areas for improvement. So we don't know how the final version is going to look, but I just wanted to say thank you for the initiative and opening up this process. I think a lot of good will come just from that. So thank you.
Thank you. And I knew I was going to get, I was warned I was going to get a lot of body blows. And believe me, it's been, but it needs to be done. And I'm about good policy. Let's just get it done. And I'm hoping with, obviously, I want this school board, state school board, to be there with me, because I'm going to need you. Obviously, I'm not going to ask you to, not express your concerns. Let's make sure it's right. But ultimately, there's going to be some oversight that people aren't going to like. Not that I'm trying to compare, but I do have grandkids. It's like my 2-year-old grandkid, giving them a whole box of Lucky Charms, and they just want to be able to eat the whole box. And I think some oversight in some areas is necessary. Not to compare the 2-year-olds. That might be. Is this recorded? So sorry.
Superintendent Hart,
Strike
did
that.
you have a quick
Yes,
comment?
and broadcast to
Oh,
everyone.
great.
Just for everybody's situational awareness, we, like much of our functions, what we have at USBE is one FTE, and that handles construction. And then the districts then certify to us that they are meeting the requirements. And I sign off on those daily. So they come from Deputy Jones, and then I look it over and then sign that. So they are attesting that they are compliant. That is what we do for the monitoring of construction currently.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, and I do have, I think it was Jones. Did you say Dr. Jones or Deputy Jones?
And then
Okay.
Dean Dykstra
Okay.
is
Yeah,
the construction guru.
Yeah, we still have, they're going to play a very important role in this. We still need them to coordinate a lot of stuff. So, but hopefully give them their resources. So thank you very much. Appreciate all.
Time.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Can I make a quick comment, please?
Yes, thank you, Member
Thank
Green.
you. Yeah, and this is towards the maker of this bill, the discussion. I just appreciate this conversation. I would love to have a minute to read through this bill, and I will be reaching out to you, because we deal in the world of construction, and some of the things that you're saying exist is definitely true, especially when it comes to government contracts. And it's a different beast. It's a different type of animal. So anyway, I'm anxious to see more of these details, and I appreciate the efforts that you put towards this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Green.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Senator Wilson. We appreciate your time. All right, we'll move to Representative Ivory. He's here to speak to us about HB 317, Social Health in Public Education Curriculum, and HB 312, Civics Education Modification. And we have about 20 minutes. So thank you for being here. We appreciate your time.
Oh, my goodness, it's been a while since I've been in front of the school board. It's good to be with you. I- David Kozlowski, who is the head of the Social Health Initiative, and Corinne Johnson has an organization called Teaching It Right and a program that's called We Are Friends that are in the elementary school. And I'm just going to introduce it and then shut up and let the experts talk about what they're doing and where they think this is going. Basically, we know, and you have, I don't know if I can get this, let's see if that comes up. You have in your, I don't know how, is that on? There we go. So you have in your materials and in your curricula and in your standards that social health is critical to health. It's critical to physical health. It's critical to mental health and kind of the three-legged stool. And, we know the recipe for physical health, you eat right, have exercise, sleep right, and have good, healthy relationships is now being added to physical health, right? Mental health, the same thing. The relationship aspect of mental health is crucial. Well, we have, and you've recognized, social health is a critical component to that. And it's wonderful, the things that you're doing and the standards that you're doing. But as we've looked, we haven't found a specific definition to what social health is. And all this bill does then is create an objective definition for what social health is and what it isn't, so that it's not superimposed with someone's ideology or agenda from wherever on the spectrum. It's objective skills on how we have productive, healthy relationships. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to David and Corinne and let them explain their experience. And what's that?
Andrea.
Oh, and Andrea. I'm sorry, David and Andrea Johnson. My apologies, please.
Yes, please introduce yourself and tell us what body you represent or.
Yes.
Thank
So
you.
first of all, thank you for allowing us to come here and speak today. And also thank you for all the great work that you guys are doing to help the students and children of Utah. My name is David Kozlowski, so I'm going to speak for a few minutes, pass over to Andrea, and then I'll sum it up. So I would think it'd be best to start out with the origin story of how this terminology and this definition was homegrown right here in the state of Utah, in South Jordan, Utah. So in 2010 to 2012, the definition and term was created by over a couple hundred teenagers myself doing a bunch of focus groups. So we started these groups in 2010, and it was sponsored by Kennecott at the Daybreak Community Recreation Center. These groups were to give kids something free in the community that they could get support from that was outside of just their traditional mental health therapy. So we started these social groups. Well, in 2010 to 2012, the teens, they came to me after I told them that we were going to turn this into a 501c3 nonprofit organization. They said that they wanted to make sure that the label described what they felt the groups were, not for what they felt people were telling them they were. So we did a focus group, and in that focus group, they decided that they wanted the groups to be called social health groups. They specifically said that they wanted to remove the word mental and replace it with social, because it was the social connections in the groups that fortified their mental health throughout the rest of their week. And each week they'd come, get another, dose of the social health connections, and then they'd move on. And they found out that that supported their therapy, supported what was going on at home with their parents, and it also helped them pay attention better in school. So we ran those groups from 2010 to 2020. Those groups then opened up in Pleasant Grove Recreational Center. And so for that 10 years of these groups, we were able to refine the definition, continue to work on how it can be applied into the communities. Well, in 2019, I was approached by then Vice Principal Julie Scherzinger and Principal Todd Kornberg at Harriman High School. And they asked me if we could take what we were doing in these groups and create a program for their school. I said, absolutely, but with one condition. The only condition was that it was an actual class, not something that was taught 20 minutes a couple times a week. And also that the class wasn't focusing, the subject matter wasn't mental health. It was about something very specific: building, maintaining, and improving mutual beneficial relationships with their family, their friends, online relationships with encompasses their actual devices, all while improving the relationship with themselves. They agreed. Now the curriculum is in its 6th year at Harriman High School. It's also expanded to Pleasant Grove. So in Pleasant Grove High School and Gunnison High School, it's been there for 3 years now. And so as we bring this to you right now, we've partnered up with Andrea and her organization. So I want to give her a few moments to kind of tell you the success they've had with their social health curriculum as well.
Hi, I'm Andrea Johnson, and a little bit about me. My background's in special education, taught for many years, loved it. But a pivotal point for me is when my students came up to me and he was like, Andrea, I want friends, but I do not know how. So I made a promise to him that I would come up with a solution to help him and all kids, whether they're in the general or special education classroom, to help them to make friends. So that began the We Are Friends program, and we're with the little kids, so pre-K to 3rd grade. And so now we've had 12 years of research with over 3,000 participants. And in fact, we've actually done the largest study nationwide showing that kids are generalizing these skills outside the classroom, such as at lunch and recess. And some of our results include a 407% increase in positive self-talk, a 384% increase in doing nice things to other people, and a 551% increase in self-regulation. And we're finding that as kids are learning these skills, their absenteeism is going down. And additionally, 98% of teachers are seeing an improvement in positive behaviors and a decline in negative behaviors. So we've trained 108 schools and we've helped over 10,000 children. And our goal is just to all work together so more kids can have access to social health programs. Thanks.
Yeah. And I just like to close with the last few things. So thank you, Andrea. Appreciate that. Our intention with social health is not to replace parents, the community's influence, church leaders, whoever the most influential stakeholders in a child's life. Our goal is to establish a language and a common denominator, a common definition that we can all agree upon. The best way that I've been able to describe this is that imagine in the education system, if everybody called math something different from each school. So if you had numerical learning, digital numerical progression in math, you couldn't scale it. It'd be difficult to measure it and it'd be difficult to go from one school to the other. And so as I've been talking about social health and teaching social health, and I was actually, the teacher for 5 years at Harriman High School to help get this started. As I go to different communities, parent coalitions, and I talk with people, usually they'll come up to me and they say, wait a second, this sounds exactly like something we're doing, but we call it something different. And I said, well, imagine how cool it'd be if we all collaborated and came together and decided on what to call it and have a name for it. And so that's why I present my definition that me and over 1,000 teenagers created, and with the help of parents and community groups over the past 16 years, so that this is like a blueprint and a foundation. Because in order for this to be scaled, in my opinion, we're going to have a collective effort. Everybody's going to have to come together and share what we've done. And at the end of the day, I talk to kids all the time, and the most important thing to these kids at school, it should be school, but it's social. It's really difficult for them to go to school and stay in school if they don't make friends. And that's what this curriculum has already proven in multiple schools. And next week, when we present this officially, we will have teachers, students, the SBO of Harriman High School, people representing the Polynesian community, people representing the LGBTQ plus community, all share their experiences, how at the end of the day, when you drop your kids off at school, you just want them to make friends, not get bullied like their teacher like them. And so that's what we're presenting to you guys today. And so thank you so much for the time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Just a couple of other things and whatever questions you have for them. To kind of get to what some of your questions may be, this is not a vendor bill. It doesn't prescribe any specific group or organization doing any specific thing. It's about setting a standard that's objective, that's observable. We can know what it is, and then specifically so that we know what it's not when we talk about that. The work that you're doing already is fantastic, right?
Absolutely.
It's wonderful. What David was talking about, I think, is the key point. By having a common language about what we call this, that's all this bill does. It's having a common language for what social health is, because we know at the end of the day, I think like they were saying, when we send our kids to school, it's like the first thing you say when they leave is, I hope they get an A on their test. It's, I hope they make good friends. And as a parent, you know that because if they make good friends, they're going to want to be at school. They're going to succeed at school. And this just creates a common language for how we do that.
And I failed to mention too, Ken, that I've spent the past 26 years in the mental health industry. I've been a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the state of Utah for 18 years. And unfortunately, my specialty was the most at-risk teens, and it was suicide prevention. And I found out that the best suicide prevention has always been connection.
Thank you. We have a number of lights on.
I asked the
can
least to
we-
remind me because I forgot already. We are already working on a sub to take one piece out that we put in. You've got the standards in teaching to K-6, and when it got drafted, it extended that. We're not intending to change that, and then just keep the definition part, but not change what's in code to be taught in which grade. So.
Okay, well, we have a number of questions.
Yeah,
Do you have time for that
great.
right now? Okay, Member Bogus, you're first.
Thank you. So I have two questions. One is kind of layered. So we have 90 minutes of ELA, 90 minutes of math. Did you extend the school day or did you cut academics to insert this into the school day?
So every school found a different way. So for example, at Harriman High School, they offered all incoming sophomores, they offer them driver's ed. They removed ACT prep because they take ACT in their junior year. And after the tragedy that happened to Harriman, they removed it and they put it behind driver's ed. So I think over 93% of the students that were sophomores would take driver's ed for one quarter and social health the next quarter. In Gunnison High School, it's actually a full semester class, but they did not remove anything, no.
Well, they removed something to put this in.
Oh, yes, they removed that, but they did not remove any sort of core curriculum or anything like that. No, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, and so then my next question I'm gonna hold my next question.
Okay,
I'll
thank
come
you.
back.
So Member
Thanks.
Earl.
Yeah, and I've talked with Representative Ivory on this particular item yesterday because I went through our health standards. We have making friends, we have the provisions in there. So I'm not sure, to me, adding social health says something different. And you're just indicating here that it's actually a course. It's not, it's not a health class where you're asking us to add it to the health curriculum. Are you asking us to add a health course that's social health? No.
No. And so what the bill is very, very narrow.
Yeah.
It just simply says, this is what social health means. That diagram is your diagram. And as you said, the descriptions are there for social health. But as we've talked to the drafting attorneys and others, there's not a definition for what that is. And you and I've worked on enough things that if we don't define what it is and what it isn't, it's left to interpretation. And so social health is not how we feel about, politics or whatever else. They're basic relationship skills. And so,
Yeah, and I guess my my thought is that our standards already, it sounds like, allow for, if someone chooses this, to use as part of their health curriculum or, health whatever, that we already allow that. I'm not sure if the definition, because even as I look at provisions within our standards that use social health in coordination, it actually extends outside of that definition a bit. For example, online type of things. Anyways, I don't know if those are completely encompassed in this, and I'd hate for us to be narrowly focused to where we're not maybe meeting all the needs. Anyways, and I feel like that the entities that are here currently are able to do, if a district chooses it, right? And if they go through the curriculum process and they could choose this as part of their thing. So I'm trying to and I've conveyed that to you before, trying to understand that balance. So
yeah, to the extent that there's funding and to the extent that they choose, then there's a definition, again, what it is, what it isn't. So,
okay, and I have another question, but I'll ask what's the other program? I'll ask offline because we've got limited time.
and to your point, so there are mentions of this in standards and elsewhere. We haven't defined it. And
Okay.
I think David can speak to the Harvard studies and other places that go into the definition
Okay.
and like I said, we have a sub open if there's other things, but there's been a lot of research that's gone into that.
Yeah, and I'll reach out to Teach It Right because I had some questions around their research. So thank you.
Member Longacre. No, you're good. Okay. And then Member Green.
Yes. I just have the bill in front of me, line 51, where it says the measurable condition of connection, belonging, and positive relationships within individuals, organizations, and communities. How do you measure these connections? What does that look like already? And what is being implied by measuring conditions of connection?
Well, I think going back to what we talked about, the definition, we're trying to establish a definition so we can figure out what is the best way to observe those things you just mentioned. As of right now, the story I shared with how we've gotten into schools, our intention is to not be the only provider or the sole bearer of social health. We're trying to help it so that it doesn't get taken in different directions. But that's why we need support from you guys so that other people can help us figure out what's the best way to measure or observe those conditions.
I mean, you can talk about your outcomes and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, we have tons of outcomes, but I mean, do you guys want me to get into like, the self-assessments and stuff like that right now? I mean, because that's the way we've been doing. We're just asking teachers and asking the students to give before and after when they start the course afterwards. So that's how we've been able to measure it or observe it currently. And then they obviously have a lot more data that would you like to share how you guys get the data?
Yeah, we partnered with third-party researchers from the University of Utah. We have our statistician we've had with BYU and Westminster. And so everything has been peer-reviewed, we're published, and to make sure we're following it by the book.
So if you had any of that evidence, you could email it to the board just for
Absolutely,
further research. That would be very helpful to get some of that background.
And if I may follow up,
Oh,
please.
yes, please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry. No, that's okay. I'm up here on line 46, where it does have social health means an individual's ability to successfully build, maintain, and improve mutually beneficial relationships with others, and it goes on from there. I just, in great caution, I would say I understand the need for social health. The depths of it and the complexities of it. However, I am a little hesitant that we would have to define such a thing when the fabrics of our nation in particular have been formed by the voice of the people in real time as we take it upon ourselves to live moral, upright lives that we are free to direct our actions and our efforts. So um, I'm just very wary of this. I see the good intention, but I mean, you've put measurable conditions of connection. That's different for everybody. And again, that gets to be, if it is politically the day of being politically correct, you're going to silence all sorts of people's voices, and you're going to create environments where you're going to start seeing things have to be fortified and built in to address freedom of speech issues if it is not seen as being connective, belonging, positive, whatever. That dialogue changes pretty quick. So I would just say proceed with caution. Thank you.
If I may, I really appreciate the comment, and I think that's exactly the point. We have seen where things are hyper politicized and polarized and safe spaces, and we can't even engage in the same public square or in the school square. And that's, part of public ed. We'll get into the next bill that we have is to learn how we self-govern. Well, to do that, that requires productive, positive relationships, not Democrat relationships, not Republican relationships, not hetero relationships or LGBTQ relationships, but being able to have that social health and ability in the full public square. So board member, to your point, and that really is the whole point of this, so that it
Yeah.
doesn't get pulled one way or another, that we talk about objective skills of interacting with others.
And I'm glad actually, I can't see the person
Agreed.
over. I'm glad actually brought up line 46 because mutually beneficial relationships is the most important part of that definition. So in Harvard, John Hopkins and BYU, just for one example, because we're talking about youth here. They did, they had an algorithm determined. I don't know if you guys saw the KSL study that came out about 3 years ago. They did an algorithm. They interviewed about 187,000 kids, mostly from the state of Utah, middle school and high school. And they determined that through the algorithm, there's 4 components that preceded them having suicidal thoughts or a suicidal attempt. And those 4 were very specific, not in any specific order. The first one was online bullying, arguing, people hurting them online. The second one was the same thing happened at school. The third one was no father figure in the home. And the fourth one was constant fighting and arguing in the home. So according to Harvard, what they said is that if you want to live 8 to 15 years longer, and we can cite this research, you need to have better relationships. They used to say it was more sleep, better exercise, and to eat healthier. But then they found out there's nothing that keeps you up later at night to eat worse and to not exercise and not having better relationships. So mutually beneficial relationships, I believe that is observable and can be measured very easily because the outcome is your health. Your overall mental, I'm a mental health professional. When someone comes to me and they're suicidal, I quickly do a history and guess what happens? I find out that there was a breakup, a friend hurt them, bullied, something at home. So in that sense, it is observable and measurable.
Thank you. All right, members, we need to move on. So we have 2 more comments, Member Bogus and Member Davis.
I'll be very quick. Thank you, Chair. So I noticed you talked about data, and I being in schools all the time, I'm wondering how you get this data if it's not self-reported. Because some of those things, there's an 80 whatever % increase in self-regulation. That unless you've got people literally hovering over our kids and violating their privacy, that's self-reported data, which is the most inaccurate form of data. Can you help me understand that?
Yeah, so our lead researchers from the University of Utah, and we did have research schools that participated, and we did have parents that signed release forms, and we had research assistants that were in the schools that did a lot of the observations. We also did other standardized testing tools that measured the behaviors as well. So we did observations and standardized testing and pre-post results and with parents and
Okay, thank you.
And Member Davis, to our final comment.
Just quickly, when you put the words social and health and wellness together, you can see you get these wide varieties of opinions and perspectives, and it may take more conversations to happen. But I have constituents that live both in Harriman and in Pleasant Grove. And so I just want to take a personal second of privilege to say thank you for the time that you've spent with those children and families and teachers, and for trying to do something to make their lives better. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
And Board Member Davis, David can speak to this as well, but since 2017 and they instituted these programs, they haven't had a single suicide in the school. The contacts to Safe UT have dropped dramatically. I mean, they're very minimal, and they're just learning how to interact. And that really is what this is. This isn't so very simple. I would just, because David wouldn't probably tell you himself, he did a book a few years ago called Youth of the Nation that explains a lot of this, and highly recommend it. I think I read it on a trip to the East Coast at one point. And but there's also websites for both of these organizations. And again, to reiterate, this is not about organizations. It's about setting a basic standard that, just like you said, let the conversation flow and go. And the great thing about local government, state government, if we need to tweak it a little bit, that's what we do. That's most of what we do every year with our bills. So.
And as far as research goes, because social health, one gentleman came up with the term in 1978, wrote one sentence about it. My organization, with the help of 1,000 local teens, we came up with the first definition. Right after I released my book, I had no idea. Kinsley Casely, a woman, she did the research out of Harvard on social health. She did from 2013 to 2023. So I suggest you guys look up her book even more so than mine, because if you read her book and you read my book side to side, you will see that her work, she doesn't come up with a definition because she didn't feel she had the right to, because she never applied it, but it describes the definition that these teenagers came up. It really wasn't me. I was just the architect to help them keep it safe and not get out of control, because you know what teenagers can do. So.
Thank you.
And just really quick, just I forgot to mention with our research, we did have an IRB for all of our research, so we made sure to follow every, protocol, so. It's 40.
We are actually coming close to being kicked out of the room.
We can do the
So,
next one really quickly, so.
yes, please.
And
Thank you.
on 317, please, if you have other comments and I know that they would make themselves available and welcome continuing the discussion on that as we go. But like we said, I mean, good definition keeps it to what it is and what it isn't. On 312, George Washington, I am always amazed at how they did what they did. He said, primary object should be the education of our youth in the science of government. In a republic, what species of knowledge can be equally important, and what duty more pressing than communicating it to those who are to be the future guardians of the liberty of the country? And 312 is just the spiraling where we make sure that we're introducing civics, American government at every level and not just 3 times. And you're already doing great work in so many levels on that. This just puts that in code that we mean it. And we mean it always, that self-governance is critical to how we move forward as the nation. Texas has already gone down this road developing curriculum. We have the Civic Thought and Leadership Institute that we've put a lot of money to and effort to, that is a resource. I think you may have heard this week that University of Utah just announced the Federalism Law American Government College. And a lot of other things that we're doing. Last month in Ohio, we had a meeting of speakers and Senate presidents from nearly 40 states in Ohio. And we unanimously passed a resolution on federalism that as states, we need to be in the game and make sure that our governing structure is well regulated and the roles and responsibilities are balanced. We can't do that if we don't know what that structure is intricately, and they counted on us doing that. And so that really is 312, is just, you're doing great things on a number of things. It just puts in code that we mean it. We should do that every year. And then as the curricula are developing in other places, there are the resources and things that go with that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We're going to hold on questions at this time and refer them to you if they have more
that'd
to
be great.
speak to. We thank you so much for your time.
Any input on that? Thank you all.
Thank you. All right, board members, we're going to go back to the motion that was pending. We have a motion to amend by Member Booth regarding adding BTS back into our priorities. I know Member Lear, were you speaking to that? No. Okay, so then then we'll go to, yes, we'll go to a vote, to a motion to amend to add in BTS. Member Bogus? Yes. Member Bollinger?
Will you just, sorry.
Oh,
Sure.
sorry.
Chair, as they read out their votes, because they can't be heard online, will you just repeat them?
Oh, yes,
And
thank
so
you.
then I won't have to jump all over the microphone.
Okay, sorry. Okay, Member Bogus was a yes. Member Bollinger?
Yes.
Is a yes. Member Booth? Is a yes. Member Brinton? Is a yes. Member Davis? Is a yes. Member Earl? Is a yes. Member Green?
Yes.
Yes. Member Hall? Yes. Member Chair Hymas?
No.
No. Member Kelly? No. Member Carey? Member Lear? Is a yes. Member Carey was a yes, sorry. Member Longacre? Member Rill? Yes, and Member Wood is a yes. So that passes 14 yeses, 1 no, or 2 noes, sorry, 13-2, with 2 noes being Member Chair Hymas and Member Kelly. All right, any discussion back to the original motion of our priorities? Member Lear, you were in line. Will you push your button, please?
I just wanted to make the point earlier, it's kind of lost the timing moment.
Sorry.
But that's all right. Good discussion. But I'm concerned that we were having discussions about cutting personnel at USBE and cutting that budget item. And yet, of the bills that are just filed in the first week of the session, many of them call for work from USBE. So I just find it curious and troublesome that we are cutting the USBE budget, but then somehow adding on more responsibilities.
Thank you for making that clarification. All right, I'm not seeing any other line lights. I will move to a vote on the priorities. We're going to, yeah. Go ahead. Okay, so the motion is that the board update its funding request priorities to read as follows. Number one, paraprofessional K through 3 grant. Number 2, BTS Arts. Number 3, K through 8 Literacy and Numeracy. Number 4, USBE FTEs. Number 5, Master Pilot Program. Member Bollinger speaking to this motion?
I'm just ready to take the roll call
Oh,
vote.
all right, thank you. All right, Member Bogus? Is it? Did you have, oh, I'm sorry. Trying to watch his lights and your lights. It's not as fine-tuned as being back at the board office. All right, Member Bogus? To vote, yes, okay, is a yes. Bollinger?
Yes.
Member Booth? So Bollinger is a yes, Booth is a yes. Brinton is a yes. Davis? Yes. Earl? Yes. Green?
Yes.
Yes. Hall? Yes. Hymus?
Yes.
Yes. Kelly? Yes. Carrie? No. Lear? Yes. Yes. Longacre? Yes. Real? Yes. Wood? Yes. All right, that motion passes 14-1 with member Carey in opposition.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could we, staff, get clarification on what was meant by the whole motion? What motion was that? Just
Yeah,
so
we'll
we're
go
clear.
back to that.
Okay,
We were in the
okay,
middle of a
okay.
vote,
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I
Okay,
kind
understood.
of let that go.
Okay,
So
okay.
member Davis, would you like to speak?
It was just the piece of the motion that added in the request that no new programs be started this year if all of these cuts are going to be made that we suggested, and we're going to reduce our requests as well.
So then, Madam Chair, just in order of operations, would that imply that as we update the request for funding, that we also message that to PEA and then subsequently EAC? Is that the intent then of the motion, which, because as was stated earlier by a board member, that's already happening. There's new legislation that's requiring all this too. So
They haven't
is that,
passed it yet, right?
It's a quick follow-up.
well, true, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so we had a motion, I don't know, Member Real, are you still seconding that motion? We had a motion that that message continue to be sent with our priorities, that no new legislation that increases costs be passed. Is there any objection to
That
that
was
being
the
moved
motion from the
forward?
full board.
Okay,
That
Madam
that
Chair.
message continue to be shared? I
Okay, I'm
do-
not trying to be difficult, but the message that you send with that is if you say that no new legislation be passed with costs, then they're going to pass new legislation and not give you the money to cover the costs. So just, that's a risk that you're
Yeah,
taking
all
by
right.
that message. I'm just saying that.
No, I appreciate the
Respectfully
warning.
saying that. So, okay.
Can I clarify something?
Yes.
Sure.
The language of the motion
Yeah.
was that without being requested by the board or approved by the board, because we have all these programs that are being cut for new things, can we fund these things first and not add new things if we need to make all these cuts?
And we
maintaining the
can
message.
message that. Yeah, we can message that.
Maintaining
I
the
just want to make
It's
sure.
a little
that we're clear.
softer than what you had.
Well,
Yeah,
I
just-
didn't want to take that risk, ma'am.
Right,
I
sure.
really didn't. Through Madam Chair, to
Understandable.
Board Member Davis. Just, I want to make
Member-
sure we're on message, so.
Member Carey, is your light on?
Yeah, I was just going to ask to see the motion. Is this the
It's the same language that she just wants to reiterate that we want that message reiterated, is to communicate to PEA that the Utah State Board respectfully requests that no new legislative education programs or initiatives requiring funding be created in the 2026 legislative session without being requested or endorsed by the Utah State Board of Education.
I'll have a chance to lose a second time, because I will vote against it again, and if I could speak to that.
Yes, go ahead.
And so if there's no,
Okay,
oh, then
there is no motion.
apologies. Superintendent was talking to me. I'll blame her.
Well,
Thank
it
you.
was a motion, but. Okay. You want that message continued?
Yeah. Right.
Vote.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
and Madam Chair, staff are tracking that intent, but we haven't been messaging it. So if we're going to message it, we just want to make sure that we're messaging it, that you're continually in at your direction, so.
Okay. Were you speaking to it or, okay. Were you making a
A
motion?
motion to adjourn.
All right. We have a motion to adjourn. There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you.